14 years old. You were not driving, you were just waiting. And yet you were treated like you broke the law. That is not justice. And today I will.
The courtroom was silent, not the ordinary silence people expect before a case begins. This one felt different, heavier, tighter, like something was already wrong. Before a single word had been spoken, there was a stillness in the air. That didn't feel natural, almost like everyone in that room was waiting for something to break. Slowly, the attention shifted toward the plaintiff's table, where a young girl sat, small, quiet, barely moving, Emily Turner. Only 14 years old, her hands were locked together, fingers pressed tightly, resting. In her lap, her shoulders curled inward, as if she was trying to make herself invisible, to disappear from the moment, from the room, from everything. Next to her sat her mother, Sarah Turner, a woman who looked like sleep had abandoned her days ago. Her face carried exhaustion, not just physical, but emotional. Her eyes moved constantly from her daughter to the man sitting across from them, back and forth, again and again, like she still couldn't believe that all of this courtroom, these people, these cameras was happening because of him. On the other side, Officer Daniel Price sat back, comfortable, arms crossed, posture wide, expression flat, almost bored. There was something about his face, a quiet confidence, mixed with indifference. To someone who didn't know the story, he looked like a man doing his job, nothing more, nothing less. But to those who understood the case, he looked different, like someone who had forgotten what that job was supposed to mean. And then it happened. He looked up, met Sarah's eyes across the room, and smirked, just slightly, a small curl at the corner of his lips, but it was enough to send a ripple through the audience, an uncomfortable shift, a silent reaction that said everything without a single word. And then the door behind the bench opened. The sound was soft, but in that silence, everyone turned. Judge Judy entered, slow steps, measured, controlled, each one echoing lightly. But adding weight to the already heavy air, she approached the bench, placed her folder down neatly, precisely, but she didn't open it, not immediately. Instead, she looked up, her eyes moved from the plaintiff's side to the defense, careful, focused, unrushed. Then they stopped on Officer Price, and in that moment, something shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but enough to be felt. Her expression tightened, sharpened, like she had already seen something she didn't like, something that didn't sit right. But she didn't say anything, not yet. Instead, she turned her attention to the girl. State your name. Her voice was calm, but carried authority, the kind that didn't allow lies. Emily Turner, a whisper, soft, almost fragile. How old are you? A pause, barely a second, but it felt longer. 14. And the moment that word landed, the air changed, just slightly, but noticeably. Judge Judy's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. She repeated it, 14, but it didn't sound like she was asking. It sounded like she was pointing directly at the man across the room, at the one who had written that ticket. She leaned forward, slightly, hands resting together, eyes steady. Mrs. Turner, why are you here today? Sarah swallowed. Hard, her throat dry, her voice unsteady. Your Honor, my daughter got a parking ticket. A small pause. She didn't break any law. She wasn't driving. She was just sitting in the car, waiting for me, double quote. The room stayed silent. But the tension, it kept building like pressure, slowly rising. Emily spoke. Next, barely audible, I wasn't even in the driver's seat. The car was off. I wasn't touching anything. Judy listened carefully. No interruption. No reaction, just observation. And you were alone? Yes. And your mother told you to stay? There? Yes. And you followed her instructions? A small nod? Yes. Everything was simple, clear, logical, and yet something about this case didn't make sense. Not even a little. A child in a courtroom over a ticket, a mother clearly struggling, and an officer who didn't seem bothered at all. Then, slowly, Judge. Judy reached for the file and opened it. The sound, soft, but in that moment, that felt loud enough to pull everyone closer, but she didn't look down right away. Instead, she stared at the papers, then spoke almost to herself, but loud enough for everyone to hear. This case, a pause, is not about a ticket. Silence, thicker than before. It's about judgment. Her eyes lifted again, sharp, focused, and this time they went straight to Officer Price. And what I'm seeing so far, double quotes, another pause, is that a 14-year-old child was held responsible for something she could not legally or logically even do, double quote, that the room didn't move. No one spoke. No one even breathed loudly. Because now it was clear this wasn't going to be normal. This wasn't going to be routine. Something bigger was unfolding right in front of them. And for the first time, the officer's confidence didn't look so solid anymore. Something was about to change. To understand how all of this started, you have to go back, not to something dramatic, not to chaos, but to a completely normal night, an ordinary evening that slowly turned into something much bigger. It was a Tuesday, nothing unusual, nothing that hinted at what was about to happen. Sarah Turner had just finished her shift at the diner, later than expected. A coworker hadn't shown up, which meant she had to stay until everything was done. Tables cleaned, receipts counted, lights checked by the time she stepped. Outside, the sky was already dark. The air was cold, the kind of cold that creeps through thin jackets and tired bones. She exhaled slowly, trying to shake off the exhaustion, but it didn't go away. It stayed with her like it always did. Emily sat in the passenger seat, waiting quietly. A notebook in her hands, homework spread across her lap, the faint glow from the dashboard. Barely enough light, but she made it work. She always did. She looked tired too, but she didn't complain, didn't say a word, because she knew her mother was already dealing with enough. They were both tired, not just from that day, but from life. The kind of tired that comes from living paycheck to paycheck, from constantly calculating what can wait and what can't. But before going home, they had one more stop, the grocery store. Nothing big, just two things, milk and headache medicine. Simple, necessary. If they didn't get them tonight, tomorrow would be harder. No breakfast for Emily, no relief for Sarah's headache, no energy for another long day. They pulled into the parking lot, and immediately something felt off. It was crowded. More tea. Unusual. Delivery trucks blocked several spaces. Cars filled the rest. Sarah drove around once, then twice, waiting for something to open up. But nothing did. She checked the time. They still had things to do at home. Laundry, dishes, homework, everything. Waiting. So she made a quick decision. Not reckless, just practical. She turned to Emily. Stay here. Sweetheart, double quotes, her voice gentle, familiar. It'll be faster. Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone. I'll be right back, double quotes, Emily nodded. This wasn't new. They had done this before. Many times, and every time, safer this way, better than walking, alone, through a crowded store at night. The car was turned off. Doors locked. Everything normal, everything safe, or at least that's what they believed. Minutes passed, quiet minutes. Emily stayed, still waiting, watching the clock, holding on to the instructions her mother had given her. 7 minutes, that's all it took. 7 minutes for everything to change. When Sarah came back, she saw it immediately. A piece of paper tucked under the windshield wiper, a ticket. At first, that didn't feel serious, just a mistake. Something that could be explained, something small, something fixable. But it wasn't. Over the next few days, that small mistake started to grow. The $150 fine didn't stay. $150, late fees were added, processing charges appeared, deadlines passed, faster than Sarah could manage. Then came the bank issue, an overdraft, another penalty, and another. The numbers kept rising, slowly, then all at once, until it crossed $300, more than they could afford. Much more, bills were already piling up, rent was behind, every dollar mattered, and now this. Sarah tried to stay strong, but stress showed in small ways, in quiet sighs, in late-night calculations, in whispered worries she thought Emily couldn't hear. But Emily heard everything, every word, every number, every moment of frustration. And slowly, she started to believe something that wasn't true, that it was her fault, that she had caused all of this. She apologized again and again for something she didn't even do. She became quieter, pulled away from her friends, stopped laughing, stopped drawing, stopped being a child. One night, Sarah found her curled under a blanket, crying softly, repeating the same words. I messed everything up. That moment changed everything. Sarah realized this wasn't just about money anymore. This wasn't just about a ticket. This was hurting her daughter deeply, and she couldn't let that continue. She couldn't stay silent. Not anymore. A coworker noticed her distress one day. He heard her on the phone, frustrated, exhausted, and said something simple. Take it to someone who will actually listen. Send it to Judge Judy. Double quotes. It sounded unrealistic, almost impossible. But this time, Sarah didn't ignore it. She gathered everything. The ticket, the letters, the photos, even the picture of the sign, partially hidden. And she sent it all, hoping for something, anything. Days passed, then weeks. And then a call came from the show's producers. They wanted the case. In that moment, for the first time in weeks, Sarah felt hope. But what she didn't know was that behind the scenes, something bigger was already happening. This case wasn't being treated like a normal complaint. Records were being reviewed, details cross-checked, patterns examined, because something didn't add up. Back in the courtroom, that quiet tension returned. Judge Judy turned her attention to Officer Price. I have some questions. Double quotes, calm but sharp. She lifted the citation. You wrote that the driver refused to move the vehicle. Yes, Your Honor. And you stand by that? Double quotes. Yes, double quotes. Then she leaned forward. The driver you're referring to was 14 years old. Silence, a brief hesitation, small but noticeable. The person in the car refused to move. He corrected. Judy's expression hardened instantly. The person in the car was a child. Her voice cut through the room, clear, sharp. A child who cannot legally drive. Hey. Child who could not move that vehicle, even if she wanted to. The officer shifted slightly, trying to recover. I followed protocol. Double quote. Judy leaned back, eyes locked on him. Protocol, she repeated slowly. Then she flipped a page. And yet, double quotes. Another page. What I see here, pause, is something else entirely. She looked up, directly at him. This isn't just one incident. Her tone dropped. Controlled, serious. This is a pattern. And at that moment, the entire room felt it. Things were no longer simple. This wasn't just about Emily anymore. Something bigger was about to be exposed. The air inside the courtroom felt different now, heavier than before, like everything that had been building was finally about to come out. Officer Price shifted in his seat, not as confident anymore, not as relaxed. The posture he walked in with was starting to fade. Emily sat still, hands trembling slightly, her eyes lowered, but her ears listening. To every word, Sarah leaned forward, holding her breath, bracing herself, because something told her this wasn't over, not even close. And then Judge Judy reached into the file again, but this time, it wasn't the same documents, not the ticket, not the basic Reports, something else, something heavier. She pulled out a paper marked clearly, Internal Affairs. The moment Officer Price saw it, everything changed. His face lost color, his jaw tightened, his eyes shifted, just slightly. But it was enough, Officer Price. Judy's voice dropped. Calm, but dangerous. Did you think I only had your citation report? He swallowed, tried to respond. I followed the law, Your Honor. Weak answer. Judy didn't react, not immediately. Instead, she lifted the document. Then this should be easy. A pause. Are you familiar with complaint number 427B? Silence, a visible reaction, small, but undeniable. The case is unresolved. He said, unresolved, double quotes. Judy repeated slowly, then her tone sharpened or ignored. The courtroom went still, completely still. She continued, you issued a $325 ticket to a disabled woman while she was unloading groceries. Double quotes. Another pause. She had a valid placard. You claim you didn't see it. Her eyes didn't move, and your body camera was turned off. A murmur moved through the room, quiet but heavy. Judy lifted another page. And this, complaint 322C, a delivery driver. You cited him while he was collapsing from heat exhaustion. Double quotes. No response, none at all. Another page. Complaint 301A. Pregnant woman? She pulled over because she felt dizzy. She was later taken to the hospital. And you still wrote the citation. Silence, thick, unavoidable, every word adding weight. Every detail, breaking the image he walked in with. Judy placed the papers down slowly, deliberately. Then she spoke, clear, direct, final. You have a pattern, a pause, a pattern of targeting people. Who are? Vulnerable. People who can't argue. People who can't fight back. Her eyes shifted briefly toward Emily. And this child, her voice softened, but the anger underneath remained. Was your next target? Emily's eyes filled with tears, but this time they weren't just fear, they was something else. Relief slowly beginning. Judy turned toward Sarah. Mrs. Turner, how much did this cost you? Sarah took a breath, her hands clasped together. $382. Her voice quiet but steady. That's nearly a week of groceries for us. Double quotes. Judy nodded once. Her expression hardened again. 14-year-old child? 'Cause none of this. She paused. What caused this was reckless enforcement and poor judgment. Then she delivered the decision, clear, strong, uncheckable. This citation is dismissed. A small wave moved through the room. Relief, shock, emotion, all associated fees are dismissed. Another pause, but she wasn't done. Not yet, Officer Price. Her voice cut through everything again. This matter will be forwarded for review with a recommendation for disciplinary action. Double quote. His face dropped completely. Your Honor. Please, no, sharp, immediate. You don't get to plead now. Double quotes. Her voice rose slightly, controlled, but powerful. You made your choices. You chose authority over fairness. You chose pressure over responsibility. And you chose a 14-year-old child. Silence, absolute silence. Actions, she said slowly, have consequences. Emily couldn't hold it anymore. A quiet sob escaped. Sarah pulled her close, holding her tightly, protecting her. Finally, Judy's expression changed, just slightly. She turned toward Emily, her voice softened. Emily, a pause. You did nothing. Wrong. Double quotes. The words landed gently, but powerfully. Do you understand? Emily nodded, tears falling, but her face lighter. This was not your fault. And that moment meant everything. The kind of words a child never forgets. The room slowly exhaled, like everyone had been holding their breath. Sarah whispered, Thank you. Again. And again. Judge. Judy gave a small nod, then raised the gavel. One strike. Loud. Final. Case dismissed. And just like that, it was over. But something unexpected happened. The audience stood, one by one, a quiet reaction, turning into something more, a standing ovation for a child who never should have been. There, for a mother who refused to give up, and for justice done right, Emily buried her face in her mother's shoulder. Overwhelmed, Sarah held her tighter than ever, and Judge Judy, she didn't smile, didn't react to the applause. She simply sat back, calm, certain, like someone who had done exactly what she was meant to do, protect those who couldn't protect themselves.